in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, where Donald Trump became the president of the United States, I woke up in the morning after having stayed up all night watching the results and seeing that he in fact had won. And that morning, there had been a woman across the street who clearly, she must have gone to bed with the assumption that many did at 9 o'clock or so that Hillary Clinton was going to win, and had checked her phone, because all I heard was I heard her feet walking across the street, a stomp, and a piercing scream of sobbing and screaming and sobbing that just echoed at 6 in the morning when she had clearly read the news on her phone. So that was the tone that I woke up to. And later in the day, someone had posted a video of a man named Richard Spencer, who ran a think tank, or perhaps still runs it, in which he was a supporter of the Trump campaign. And to celebrate that Trump had won, he and his supporters gave Zig Heils as he questioned whether Jews had souls and were not in fact golems. And as that energy, the black cloud hanging over the entire country and rising anti-Semitism, gave me, I think for the first time, a real check and sense of otherness, and a reminder that though I move through the world with all of the privileges of being white and straight and a man and all of that, and can go through, that all of that, especially whiteness, is very fragile, and that the assimilated German Jews had felt that they were German citizens above all else, and that a reminder that all these things I took for granted, that for a group of people, and maybe just more vocal now than they had been, maybe not a majority of Americans, I was not who I thought I was. I was not just another American citizen, just another person. I was the embodiment of the destruction of their culture. I was an infiltrator into their culture. And so, in a true kind of misnogged way, I decided to look into my otherness as a tool of resistance and as a tool, as a weapon. And in sort of that period of darkness that was that week, where you could be near someone a couple feet away and it felt like they were 20 miles off and we're all just floating in a gray void. There were 2 people in my program who were Jewish, and we just had this urge to get together, and they said, let's daven. And I hadn't davened since Hebrew school, and even then I didn't know what I was doing, and we just started doing it. They printed some things off the internet, and I don't even remember now what it was we said. But speaking, ancient Hebrew, speaking a language as old as it was, and a language that, being in the States, I didn't hear. And having that come out of our mouths with the way we looked and the way I always thought I had looked and presented myself, gave me a real sense of strength. So I went down the path of almost everything at once. Of the religious, I decided to go back into Chabad, daven, see what was up with them. And going to them was interesting. One, I had the familiarity, and as alienating as they can seem, I always felt, and still do often, a little more alienated by reform or conservative, because there's such a community and a base of knowledge that, because people are often praying at the same time, that if I don't know the prayers, then I feel outside of it. As we're with Chabad, they're all just standing in corners, rocking back and forth, muttering the prayers to themselves. And so I felt like I could go in there not knowing anything and just be around people and kind of do it on my own and have them come over and help me. So that was helpful for me. Somewhat, embarrassed that I didn't have the Jewish education. So that was an in. And then I started listening to Jewish music. And one night, I had been searching for protest songs, and I wanted to find Jewish protest songs. And so I was listening to a YouTube channel, and I discovered a musician named Daniel Kahn, and it was strange because I thought this sounds really new. It doesn't sound like the other like Dishfue, and I was really enjoying all of them. I said, this sounds new, but it's in Yiddish. And so I looked it up, and sure enough, came to realize that there was a whole world of contemporary Yiddish culture. And I decided to keep listening to him, and I was listening to his record, The Butcher's Share, and there's a song, Still die Nacht. It's an old partisan song about Wietke Kempner, who in the Vilna uprising blew up a German munitions train. And he sang a version that he sings the Yiddish, or he sings the English, and then he sings the Yiddish right afterwards. And right as the song was reaching its crescendo, I got this chill down my spine, and the song ended. I put it on repeat, and I took out my computer, and I typed in Yiddish summer programs in that moment. And there was something about the combination of Yiddish and English in a way that I could feel the Yiddish, and the English seemed almost like an afterthought, like something that was there for extra icing on the cake, but the Yiddish was speaking more to me in that song. You know, the English should have. It should have been that the Yiddish was fun texture and backing. But in that moment, I realized that Yiddish was speaking to me more than the English was. And it's beautiful lyrics. His translation is stupendous. But the Yiddish, which I did not understand a word of, I think punim is in there. I think that may have been the only word I knew, spoke to me in a profound way that I felt a modern kinship, that this process of rebellion was so steeped in history, in older things, whether it was from doing Torah study or studying the Bund and things like that, but still older. And when I realized that both Daniel Kahn and then hundreds and hundreds of other artists across all different mediums were working in Yiddish as a living language, and that they'd been doing this for a long time, and that there was a Jewish community that I could enter, and could enter through art, and clearly so many of them were influenced politically for different reasons, I decided that I just had to learn the language, because what else was I doing, you know? I had no reason not to. I could have made a lot of excuses, but it was the first time I felt the urge and the passion to learn something that one might not think of as practical, as something that would help me in my artistic career in any way. I mean, I might sit down and research some obscure historical moment because I'm going to write a play on it. I might learn this because, oh, that'll be helpful for, you know, later down the line when if I want to teach at this place, I should have that on my resume. But the first time that I was like, I'm going to learn something that is just for me, was in that moment. And then I applied to the Steiner Summer Program.